Hey everybody, welcome to Coshun Cast. It is January 13th. I'm Craig Coshun along with producer extraordinaire James Stewart Jr. James, how are you this morning?
Doing well this morning. Got no complaints. It's not too cold outside, so everything's going well. How about you?
Everything's pretty good here on this end. Have a few days between games that we're doing, so we're just kind of chilling and watching some games on TV. Watched the national championship game on Monday night, and it was worth the wait up, if nothing else, to see Alabama lose. So that was good. Congrats to Georgia. But unfortunately, our Bucks are kind of in a skid right now. They lost two straight to Charlotte. I got to tell you, I think that was a surprise to me. I figured for sure they'd get a split out of that.
Yeah, I was expecting at least one, but to be honest, it's also some of it's not that surprising when you kind of look at it. To me, just because of the fact with no Drew Holiday, no George Hill. So you put kind of Middleton in the point guard position, which I love Middleton, but he's not a point guard. He's a good passer, but that doesn't mean he's a good point guard. And you just kind of the Hornets are interesting just because they run that kind of 2-point guard set with Rozier and LaMelo. That's not the game to not have a point guard, especially when your point guard Drew Holiday is kind of known to be a lockdown defender. So
yeah,
I don't want to see Jordan Nwora or Middleton guarding Rozier or LaMelo for that matter, to be honest. But yeah, it's a tough run. You'd hope that they would have got one, but I think the Hornets are interesting. They're a tough matchup. I don't know what it means playoff wise, because I don't know that you can, when the game kind of slows down a little bit come playoffs, I don't know that you can run around the 2-point guard system, but they're exciting and it's working.
Well, they're a totally different team than they were a year ago. They made their some changes and stuff, and they're one of the few teams in the East that's making some noise. I mean, Memphis is making some noise in the West. So, and through COVID and all the oddities of not knowing who's playing, it seems like from game to game, sometimes just from day to day. Everyone's kind of going through some changes and stuff, and I think a team like the Bucks certainly, during that stretch without Drew, as you mentioned, you just can't push guys to a limit they shouldn't be pushed to. It's still the month of January here right now, so they go into tonight's game with Golden State, and it's definitely the marquee game in the NBA, no question about it. National TV. You got Steph versus Giannis. You got two big-time MVP candidates going at it. So that one should be fun. And I will say this, it's tough to win on the road against these up-and-coming teams. I think that's part of what, the Bucks went through against Charlotte. But now they're back home, and I think, as they get healthier, really, if you look at it, just without Drew right now, at least they're on their home court and ready to do something.
What's interesting too, you mentioned Ja Morant in Memphis, and I kind of look at Ja Morant, Memphis, and the Hornets in the same light, that they have this. I think Ja is a little bit ahead of LaMelo as far as like progression in his career, but we've seen now these very dynamic point guards kind of make a resurgence, and I'm trying to think, like, when's the last time we've seen. It's been a little bit since we've had kind of this like superstar athletic point guard, but I think it's good for the league. It's fun to watch for sure. I just don't know it's the same with Memphis too. I just think they're a little too young for playoffs, but they're definitely fun to watch. What do you see between like the emergence of those two, specifically like LaMelo and Ja Morant?
Well, I think it's interesting, you bring up the fact that, we've got maybe a swing back to the point guard, the scores in the NBA. And I think the focus has been on the big men for such a long time because they they for a long time became more athletic, more versatile. At the same time, the 3-point shot came in.
Right.
And every year for the last 10 years, it's meant even more and more and more to the entire league, not just to every team. And so now, but during that stretch, James, it was like, Giannis, bring up the ball. He's going to be your point guard.
Yeah.
If you can do that, with other big men, and LeBron's been doing it forever.
Right.
I think it's good to see. I think it's good to see the switch back, to be honest with you. There shouldn't be a certain craft of an individual size-wise and athletic size that puts you in a spot, the only spot to be a superstar in the league. So I'm glad to see it. Those two guys are exciting as hell to watch. Melo had that floater on Monday night, in the final seconds. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
It just felt like you knew it was coming too. Because
if you go back to that game in Milwaukee, he did the same thing on that 3-point shot, so he's legit. And we know Morant is too.
I mean, the league's got, like guys like Dame and stuff like that, but the league has kind of been, for the superstars, you've been kind of around the like 3-4 guys, and we outside of Dame Lillard and Steph, and I guess Chris Paul, but I don't really consider him. I mean, obviously he's a superstar, but he's not the same kind of superstar that we're talking about with Ja Morant and LaMelo.
Yeah,
he's more of a true point guard superstar. These guys are coming up as not only point guards and can be playmakers, but their athletic ability is really. Specifically, Ja. I mean, that guy's jumping out of the gym. That block he had the other day, it was confusing how he gets that much bounce.
Yeah.
And we've seen he's in the last couple of years, he's had so many of those. If he were to make that dunk, it would be the dunk of the year. You know what I mean? Like, he's had a couple of those where he's tried something that a point guard generally doesn't do, and he's banged it off the back of the rim, but he's so close and he's so athletic and fun to watch. But like you were saying, on the other side, the potential MVP matchup tonight, Steph is just – I feel like without Drew, that really worries me. Not that Drew or really anyone can hold Steph down just because of the range he shoots from and the speed at which he shoots it. You kind of feel like you never know when he's going to pull up. But it should be a fun one tonight, and hopefully – the Bucks can use a little bit of their size to kind of counteract and slow this one down, because if you get into a track meet with them, it's not a track meet like most teams. This isn't a fast break track meet. This is as soon as I get to the other side of the line, I'm shooting that 3, and if I'm hitting a bunch of them, you're in trouble.
Well, and the thing about it too is, you like to think the Bucks can do those fast break threes. They just don't have the distance that Steph does, and that's what makes it exciting to watch. This is one of those matchups where the very first thing you say, it's too bad they only get to play each other twice a year and stuff. But it should be fun because it's two superstars that live in two completely different bodies and athletes and performers and stuff. So, I mean, what else in the world would you want to watch in the NBA is to have two guys like that, lead their teams and this is a big game for the Bucks. I mean, they have dropped 4 or 5, something like that, and Golden State's right out of the gates, their team's only getting healthier now too. So
Clay back.
Go ahead.
Clay, just getting Clay back obviously is going to be huge. Which I'm excited to kind of see him play again, just because it's been so long. I'm sure around the second quarter I will be done being excited to see Clay play again. But the Bucks have had a little bit of issue chasing down the 3, and hopefully that is not the case tonight, because this is not the team for that. Like, this is any of these guys you leave open is going to be in trouble.
Yeah. And it's clearly not going to be easy without Drew. That's for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's the second best defender on the team, but arguably a top 5 in the league. When you're suiting up with Giannis and stuff like that. But It'll be fun to watch. And like I said, it's a big game for the Bucks, and they've got home court. I don't know if this is going to be a finals preview or not. I wouldn't mind it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I think what we're looking at right now at this point in mid-January, is we're a month away from the All-Star break and stuff, is, how many teams right now have a chance? How many, will an up-and-comer run it all the way to a conference final, like Bucks in Toronto did a few years ago and surprised a lot of people? Will that be can Memphis make it in the West or something like that?
Well, there's still so much time. Like, we haven't even hit the trade deadline yet, so we don't even know what kind of the final pieces of any team. We've seen a couple trades early. We see Bol going to the Pistons. I just saw apparently the Hawks might be sending Cam Reddish to the Knicks, which was a surprise to me, because all it's being reported that they're getting back is Kevin Knox in a protected first round, which the little that I have seen of Cam Reddish, I feel like, I don't know why you would let him go, but I don't know I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I don't know if he's happy or what, whatever. Or I know they've got to figure out what they're going to do with John Collins, but to see Cam Reddish move was kind of a surprise to me.
Well, and I think too, you look at the Hawks. My gosh, they played in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Bucks. It's just hard to believe that. Obviously, things haven't gone their way. This year they haven't been able to live off of that. But anyway, it'll be something, that's for sure. So what do you got? We got.
Looking at a potential MVP, like, I don't see Steph slowing down, and I obviously don't see Giannis slowing down. Do you think this is kind of what we're looking at tonight? Is especially on national TV? Hopefully, both guys kind of show out. The names are there, obviously, so it'll be fun to see. I think with Steph, Steph scares me. Obviously, he scares everybody in the league because of how far he can shoot from. But it just feels like if we can slow him down, this team, the Warriors, don't have much of an inside presence, and it sounds like I believe Draymond's out too. So if that's the case, Giannis should be able to have his way. Hopefully.
Well, let's face it; they're going to be leaning on him big time. I think the one thing in this game that that troubles me a little bit is how quickly Golden State can gain separation. And it starts with, taking 30 to 35 foot threes, on Curry, and letting him get into a flow. I mean, in less than a minute, he can hit three in a row like that against you. Your defense isn't set. Your head's not even turned yet. Sometimes that's how quickly they can score. And coming back right now is not an easy thing in this league. That's for sure. And I think the Bucks, in this latest groove that they've kind of slipped into, have had a hard time, completely coming back. Sometimes that hole is too deep, whatever. So that's the one thing I think, with Golden State that, and Curry leading the way, that probably troubles me the most. And not having Drew in there too. So, but it'll be good. It'll be fun.
Just to kind of take a pause from the Bucks talk, we have a comment, and I want to thank you for making everyone aware of how bad my breakfast habits are.
Oh yeah, look at this. John says, just wanted to let you guys know that I took a page out of James' book and had some Cool Ranch Doritos and cheddar and sour cream Ruffles for breakfast. That is, well, I didn't even ask you what you had for breakfast today. Because
the interesting thing about that is, John, you're not alone. I also had Cool Ranch Doritos as part of my my warm-up breakfast for the show. So there's that.
What'd you wash that down with?
Just water. I'm working on it. It's baby steps. I got away from soda, but I can still have chips.
God, that's the fact that you got away from soda. If people only knew how you carried yourself around the the studio and the office in these arenas, man. You're the best. That's great, John. He chimed right in. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Out of those two, I like the cheddar and sour cream Ruffles the best because I'm an original Doritos guy.
Yeah, I would lean toward those two. I don't know what it was this morning. I just had I was at the grocery store picking up some fresh fruit.
Sure you were.
My wife sent me a text to pick up some fresh fruit, so that's what I was doing. And then I saw the Cool Ranch Doritos and thought to myself, "Those look good."
That is awesome.
So there's that.
Awesome. So we got one watching today. That's good.
Yep. It all starts with one, they say.
You got to start. You can't get an audience unless you have one at least. So what do you think? I mean, there's some talk now about the trade deadline.
Yeah.
That's coming up in about a month. On our last show, we talked about DeMarcus Cousins getting released by the Bucks, and clearly the purpose, John Horst said, was to keep the window or a door open for somebody that they thought might be clearly a better fit to help them make a run in the second half. And obviously there'd be some guaranteed money in the works there, but it is amazing. I've read a few articles on where each team is in the league. I am certainly not somebody that will ever go down the financial corridor when it comes to understanding how all this works. But it is amazing. I mean, I read through all 30 teams, and you just get it's mind blowing to even think the Bucks could do anything significant. But somehow, somewhere, that's the craft that they're specialized in right now. So you never know, I guess.
I mean, it obviously the GMs and all of their guys get paid for a reason, and they're very good at it. I feel like every time I go down that road, I just get confused, just because of all the trade exceptions. And for example, Grayson apparently has a poison pill clause. I don't even know what that means. I'm assuming it means you take a penalty if you were to trade him. But so there's all these tiny little clauses and stuff that kind of don't come out in the normal reporting. So you just kind of wait. And for me, I'm just trying to, I have to trust them. We just won a championship. And the moves that John Horst has made to win that championship, Drew Holiday, PJ Tucker, Bobby Portis, all those moves has for me buys him time to say, all right, I'm just going to trust you. You know what you're doing. Clearly what you did worked. So let's see what happens. But I would like to see potentially either a defender or obviously they need some help in the post. But that really depends on what the prognosis for Brooke is, and we have no idea because they haven't told us.
Right.
So I assume there's going to be a move because otherwise, why would you open the space? I don't know if you saw there was a report that the Bucks and a couple other teams had extra scouts at the Kings game, so maybe there's something there. The only big man that I could see them moving is Marvin Bagley. I don't know what their contract situation is, but that's a young talented guy. Is kind of fallen out of the rotation there, but kind of worked himself back in, I guess.
Yeah, and here's the other thing: the troubles that teams like the Bucks have right now with injuries. I mean, I'm not saying Dante DiVincenzo is going to get traded, but this is a clear example of trying to have healthy bodies to be able to maneuver your roster around. They tried to do it obviously over a year ago before last season began. And then he's been hurt for a long time and just trying to make the comeback here now. I mean, he's barely got any minutes under his belt this season. And, with Brooke going down too, and just the uncertainty whether he's coming back. And also, I don't know if COVID, and guys missing time, if that plays into it as much, but it's also guys like Ojale and Hood. They haven't. None of those guys have been real healthy. So it's like, okay, you can't make a trade unless you've got trade bait, right?
Yeah,
and
got
these
to
guys,
want those guys too.
yeah. I mean,
and
these
not
guys
to
are
say that
trade
no one wants them. It's just that we haven't seen them.
right. Yeah. So I mean that's part of it. But here's the question I pose: do you think the Bucks do absolutely everything they can to win another championship this year right now? Because I think they almost have to, considering the core of this team right now. And if the core stays healthy and they can, keep that going here for the rest of the season. I mean, there's no better time to do it when you're fresh and if you can get healthy than right now.
And that's the thing is, like, we have, Drew, Giannis, and Chris. So our core kind of locked up for a bit, but the Bucks are kind of in between. They're not necessarily an old team, but they're not a young team anymore. Like we look at Giannis and say 27, he's still young. Bobby's 26, he's still young. But Drew and Chris are in their 30s. Brooke is in his 30s. You know what I mean? It once you kind of start adding it up beyond those kind of two guys, they're starting to feel like a little bit older of a team. And I don't know just with what they have kind of locked up. Like if you want to keep Bobby long term, it's going to cost more than what you have him at now, which means you're not going to be able to add next year. And it's just there's a lot of pieces that are kind of core pieces, but they're not, like, if say we win, Bobby and Pat, if you want to keep them, both need a raise because they both have outplayed their contracts, assuming that they continue at the rate that they're going right now. And then obviously you have Grayson locked up for a bit, but it's to me, they have to do kind of the win now thing, if only because you have Giannis in his prime. And the fact that everyone is only going to get more expensive. And we're already in the luxury tax.
Correct. And I'll also say this. I mean, I think you bring up a good point with a guy like Bobby Portis or Pat Connaughton, but they're both under contract still for next year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, Bobby has a player option, right?
Does he for the second year?
Yeah, I think he has a player. Which would make sense because he would have his, I believe they would have his early bird rights after this year.
Yeah.
So they could increase him and not take too much of a penalty. But even so, you don't know what the open market is going to offer him if he goes what looks to be an entire year as a starter on a team that potentially wins a championship.
Right.
Like,
right.
Is 10 enough? I guess it depends on how much he likes Milwaukee at that point, which obviously he does like Milwaukee, but a champion and what would be a back-to-back champion is probably looking at a pretty good payday.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And it probably should have come last year, and it was surprised that it didn't. Right. That's for sure.
I mean, I'm sure they've had these conversations and have some kind of understanding, but ultimately, again, if they go back to back, I think that all kind of bets are off, and he has to kind of test to see what's out there. Because again, he's only 20. He's 26. So he's younger than Giannis.
Right. Yep. Well, we shall see, my friend. We shall see Bucks and Warriors tonight, and that'll be a fun one to watch. Packers are off this weekend. Obviously, they've got the bye, the weekend off because they were the number one seed, as we all know, in the NFC. So they'll play the remaining highest seed or lowest seed, however you want to look at it, the following weekend in Green Bay. The really interesting part of this is they go into that Lions game, which you felt like they really wanted to win, and they didn't. But they went in and they started showing that they're getting a little bit healthier, especially with Bakhtiari coming back. Josh Myers got to play a little bit too on that offensive line. But, I mean, you're getting Bakhtiari back. You're getting Smith back. It looks like you're getting Alexander back. You got Myers back. You can start moving some linemen around a little bit. It looks like you're going to get Randall Cobb back. Billy Turner factors into that on that offensive line as well, where he'll end up, it looks like, back at right guard. But, I mean, this is like, you look at this, James, and you go, wow, I mean, this is pretty exciting stuff to look forward to. And then having the bye to get ready for it and to condition these guys and to rest some of these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at they're the championship sitting in their lap. They just got to go play it out.
And that's the thing. That's why you fight for the number 1 seed. I mean, you give yourself an extra week to get all these guys back, not only just to get them back, but to work them in however you feel you need to in practice. And I'm excited to kind of see what their defense does healthy. I think the offense, and the linemen, I think a lot of that kind of gets swept under the rug just because of Aaron and how much kind of we trust Aaron to kind of deal with whatever card he's dealt and win. But the defense, I think it's gonna be exciting. I can't wait to see Jair Alexander back and see, because I think that's going to be a pretty good defensive back core for a little bit. Which that come playoffs, if it's going to be, I think you were saying if everything kind of works out and everyone who's supposed to win wins, we'd see the Rams.
Right.
I would love to have Jair Alexander back for the Rams. Stafford has been giving away a lot of balls, so I definitely want all my best corners back there to snatch them up. But their cornerback core has actually been doing very good with kind of the players that they've picked off of kind of off the street. But they've all kind of made their way, and that's been kind of the tale of this defense. It's been plug and play, and everyone's just kind of switching out jerseys, changing names, and whoever's in there is expected to produce.
So the defense, let's face it, no one's going to say it's played well in the last month or so. And I think that's the one thing that stood out, when Matt LaFleur was talking about that game during his post-game press conferences. What are we doing on defense here? What are we trying to accomplish? Are we following a game plan, or are we playing some individual one-on-one stuff you just decide to at the last minute? Quite honestly, we're not as close and involved to it, but it's pretty clear that, they've given up a lot of yards, they've given up a lot of points, and that didn't seem to be a good sign going into the final month of the season. I don't know, with this time off and getting Alexander back and getting Smith back too, how that's going to change things. You only think it has to be a positive. Yeah. But they can't play defense the way they did in playoffs last year. That's for sure. And unfortunately, kind of looking like that a little bit. So I think that's the big question mark, is how you fix that now with this time off that you have to prepare, and how you take advantage of this time to do that.
Yeah. And the tough part is, not the tough part. I guess the good part for them is either way, the run to the Super Bowl goes to Green Bay. So it'll be nice to get back kind of that Lambeau kind of folklore of it's hard to win in Lambeau, and hopefully for us it'll be cold, especially if LA comes to town. Let it be cold.
Yeah,
let it be as cold as it. Well, not too cold, because I'm actually going to that game. But
oh, nice! Look at you, just dropping in it. I got tickets to that game. I'll be up. I was
at all the Bucks games, and they won a championship. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the lucky charm. So it's my duty to go to the game.
That's good, man. I'm happy for you. My son went to that freezing cold game. That Sunday night game, was that against the Bears? can't even remember. No, Vikings.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I just said have a couple sips and stay close to people. That's all you need to do.
You won't be able to see me because I will be bungled up. My goal, if it's cold, there will be no skin showing. So there'll be a snowsuit sitting there with eyes.
So who are you hoping to see in that game? Who are you hoping the opponent's going to be? I'm not sure there's going to be an upset in the NFL. Other than I'd say the one game to look at this weekend, and I'm not paying that much attention to the AFC at this point, but it's that Arizona at Dallas game is like that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. I think I don't really care who I see. I think it's going to be the Rams, but I just want to see good football at Lambeau, and I want to obviously see a win because it's the playoffs. I've never been to a playoff game, so that'll be fun. I'm thinking that the energy and atmosphere is going to be a little bit more amped than kind of the regular season game, which should be fun.
Yeah,
but I hope it's cold for our sake, not necessarily for my sake, because it's going to be terrible if it's cold. But I want to win, and I want as many advantages as we can get.
Well, if you need to layer up and you're wondering how to do that properly, just stop in and see Pam Coshun's stockpile in the back room where she keeps boots, snow pants, mittens, hats, scarves. I could go on and on.
I'm just gonna make like a suit of hot hand warmers. I'm just gonna make a suit of that, shake it up, and then go into the game wearing that. Be good.
I think that'd be great. That's great that you get to go to that. So, and I know we'll have another podcast before that one starts back up. But I think the other thing is, as much as we focused a little bit on the concern of the defense, this offense it's going to be better and deeper. And I think to me that's the most exciting thing. If the defense plays where they are, I'm still confident that the offense can get the job done. I mean, if you get Cobb coming back, and you got three basically new additions to the offensive line, and I'm saying that because these three guys are going to be fitted into their proper spots.
Yeah,
and then you have the depth to back that up in the just in case category. This to me is what makes it exciting, and the way Dylan's been running the ball in the last month too. So I say, you know what, as much as we may be concerned about the defense, I think that the fact that this offense is going to be much better than it was between games. I mean, that says a lot right there.
Well, and you mentioned Dylan. Like this is the time that we kind of expect to see him. If it is cold, this is exactly the game that he is built for. Because we all know that when it's that cold, not everybody likes contact. So having a bruiser like that will be fun. And then Aaron Jones he'll mix into is kind of the change of pace back, but getting Cobb back is kind of one of those underrated things to me. Not that he's still this great receiver. He's still a good receiver, but he's obviously not at the game changing level anymore. But the trust that Aaron has in him, and kind of especially near the end zone, he seems to find him in the red zone, which you would think you'd be looking for a bigger target. That would be Lazard and I guess Adams' time, but he seems to just sneak into those pockets, and Aaron knows the pockets that he's going to be in, which is just we take as many weapons as we can get going in the playoffs.
Well, and I think too that this is probably the biggest reason that Aaron Rodgers wanted Randall Cobb back on this team. I mean, you get into playoff time and things change. Your favorite targets can change.
Yeah.
But you need reliability, and I think that's where they sit with Cobb right now. I don't think anyone's at this point in his career is going to give him probably the respect that he deserves. But on the other hand, there are
Yeah.
bigger weapons to worry about if you're an opposing defense to the Green Bay Packers.
Right.
So,
And he's not like a deep threat. I mean,
no,
he's
but he's clutch.
Yes, he just finds the small little pockets, and Aaron, they have that relationship that he knows where he's going to be.
Well, it'll be fun. We're going to keep talking about this as we get closer to that game coming up. It's obviously more than a week out, and it's going to be fun. I hope it's cold for you, just to keep you honest. I think the other thing, a couple other things I want to touch on a little bit is Major League Baseball and the Players Union are meeting today, actually, for the first time in over a month. And as you know, we try to create what we wanted to cover on this podcast when we first started it. It was, making sure we've got the, some conversation on the Brewers and stuff. And, a couple of things there, because during a lockout, there's not much to talk about at all. There's no deals, there's no movements, there's no signings, there's, nothing. But one positive I saw this week is Brewer fans are buying up tickets for this summer at a rate pre-pandemic, which is a really good sign. And kudos to everybody who are diehard Brewer fans and are spending some of their entertainment dollars heading back to the ballpark here this summer. To me, that was like, I was really pleasantly surprised by that. And I think it's a sign too that, I myself am taking this attitude that this lockout is not going to interfere heavily with spring training in the beginning of the season. Yeah. I think these guys want to get out and play and stuff. So, and owners certainly want their fans back. You don't think the Brewers want those fans in there, when they open up the season this spring, that's for sure. But this is they haven't talked in over a month, so this is step one in the process, and we don't know exactly what's going to go on, but it's step one that and they need to have a step one and a step two coming up quickly here.
Yeah, and you just hope that it all keeps moving forward, and we're not going to hear a ton. My guess is we're probably going to hear. You're either going to hear that they're moving forward, that they're encouraged or discouraged, but it's not going to be concrete. It's going to be all vague, and we're going to just kind of have to wait. But you hope that with what we've all kind of been through, and specifically the owners, kind of what they went through with not having fans and this and that there's a little bit more urgency to not delay this. Obviously both sides have stuff that they want, but I think ultimately neither side wants to be in a position where they're not playing.
Right. Yeah. It's time to get out there, but they've got some things to settle up, that's for sure. So we'll see how that goes. Say there's one more big game tonight. I know that you don't follow the college basketball route quite as much as I do, but the Badgers are playing tonight against Ohio State, and the Badgers moved up 10 full spots in the rankings, which is going to be the biggest jump they'll make all year. I mean, they're not going to jump 10 again like that, but they become an exciting team to watch. And we've talked a little bit about what Johnny Davis has brought, and all of a sudden in the last week or so, he's emerged as a lottery pick in the NBA. He's drawing all this interest now from NBA scouts and teams, and he's led this Badger team. I mean, his teammates are only better with him on the floor. Let's put it that way. It's been fun to watch the ball move and everything. So big game tonight for them.
I mean, I'll definitely be paying attention to it. I'll obviously have my kind of focus on the Bucks tonight, but I'll be paying attention to it just for the pure fact that anytime Wisconsin sports is doing well, I think we need to make sure and celebrate it, because of the fact that we kind of have this, being a small town market, we have this kind of ecosystem. Like we've talked about it plenty of times, where there's connections between all of them, and the more winning we can do back to back to back, just leading into the next year, I think, or the next sport or whatever it is, I think just kind of creates that, one, pressure on the team, but two, just keeps the fan bases engaged and having fun. So I'll definitely be paying attention to it to see what happens, and hopefully hopefully they'll win and I'll see something cool, and then I'll jump on the bandwagon and I'll be right here with you.
The good news is they start at 6, and I'm guessing the Bucks will probably start about 6:45. So I know you'll be watching that first half then. So
Oh yeah,
along with the kids. That's all I got, my friend. You got anything to finish up with?
no, just excited for the sports tonight. That's really it. Just to watch watch the guys on TNT and see what those guys have to say. It's always fun to hear what Shaq and Chuck say. I know Chuck is always got some good stuff to say about the Bucks, unless they're shooting, and he calls them the dumbest team. What do you call them? The dumbest champion ever, or something like that?
Something like that, yeah. That's all right. Hey, as long as champion's on the last end of that sentence, man, it doesn't matter.
You can call me whatever you want before it, as long as you end with champion. Go for it.
I'm used to being associated with the word dumb, so I get it. I get it. All right, pal. I think we're gonna do a wrap today. That was good stuff, and had a chance to talk about the Bucks game against the Warriors tonight. That'll be fun to watch, and we'll discuss that and where the Bucks stand and who the Pack is going to play on our next show coming up early next week. So we'll look forward to that. Well done, James.
Yes, sir.
All right. See you, everybody.